Hello, beautiful community, and welcome back to the Rise to Her podcast. Today's energetic reading is going to cover how to bring new energy and life into your desires, how to use the current seasonal energy for your business and career growth, why your senses are one of the most underused tools you have as an entrepreneur, and how to start letting support in instead of carrying all of your desires, your goals, your dreams alone. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. This is the Archetype of the Week segment, which is a reading I do every week to give you energetic guidance for your life and business. Each week, I pull a card, whether an oracle, a tarot, an archetype card, and I read it intuitively for the collective, specifically for entrepreneurs, leaders, and mission-driven humans who are building something that matters to the collective, to the world at large. You don't have to be into tarot or archetypes for this reading to land for you. You just need to be in a place where you're building something, where you're feeling the weight of the world, where you are dedicated to a more well world and living your purpose and growing something meaningful for your life. That is who this is for. Now let's get into this week's reading. All right, listeners, this week we pulled the Nectar. You know the deal if you're watching on YouTube. The card is popping up right here. The nectar, let's just think about what it feels like to get nectar. If you're a bird going from flower to flower and helping pollinate everything, or you're a bee, just like this delicious life, this sustenance. The nectar in itself is a tool archetype. So this is something that you reach for to be able to do, something that restores you, that helps you build. And we are pulling this card in the last full week of June, right inside the energy of summer solstice. So this reading is for my stressed out baddies, for the ones who are building something that they so deeply care about that they're probably staying up at night. It's for the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the women, the men, anyone, any folk who are carrying a vision. And also you're carrying everything else about daily life, about the world. So if you've been tired, if the last few weeks have felt really heavy and you're like, okay, I'm feeling this anxiety, this push to create something, like there's so much light. What do I do with this? We're going to talk about that today inside of the Nectar reading. But before we get into the card, let's talk about the timing of where we pulled this. Summer solstice, when this reading goes live, will have just happened. Okay. So summer solstice, we are sitting in peak light. This is the longest day of the year energetically. And what that means in the cyclical calendar is that we are at maximum output. The sun has given us everything that it has. And right after the solstice, the days are going to start getting shorter again, right? We're in that cycle. It's not like, oh, bad things are coming, right? Like, I love fall. I love the smell of candles that I associate with fall, or football. And then we have the holidays, right? It's this cyclical thing of, oh, I get to experience it again. How beautiful, right? But we are in the peak energy. Things are peaking and then they turn. And in a lot of old traditions, midsummer was the time of fire. It was celebration. It was abundance. The earth is really full right now, seasonally, energetically. And if you look at it from a seasonal point of view, the harvest has not happened yet, but you know it's coming, right? We know that that comes later on in the year when we harvest everything. But right now, everything is in bloom. My blueberries and strawberries are popping off. I've been eating them. Anytime I walk by, I can just pop some into my mouth and I'm like, oh, amazing, right? And because we are nature, we coincide with that. And we're talking about the Northern Hemisphere right now. So if you're like, Emily, it's winter where I'm at, then the wheel of the year is switched, right? So Northern Hemisphere. And a lot of us can start to feel this energy because we are one with nature. Maybe you've been growing an idea, a business. Maybe last year you invested in something and you're like, all right, I really need this to get to getting. And you've been doing the work. I see you, you're grinding, you're doing the work. You're like, Emily, I just want some relief. Okay. And that's because you're at the peak of output and you're tired. That makes sense. And so the fact that we pulled the Nectar card at solstice and midsummer energy, this is nature talking to us. And I want to teach you, entrepreneurs, leaders, creatives, how to understand the conversation that nature, universe, source, spirit is having with us. Because the medicine that is being prescribed to us in this Nectar card is going to give us sustenance, to allow us to have joy when things feel wild, when things feel in full bloom, right? Because when everything's in full bloom, I don't know about you, but I still experience a lot of allergies, but I don't hate the flowers because of it. I just know like, oh, my body's adapting, right? If you've been following the energetic readings over the last few weeks, you know that we've been talking a lot about truth, that deep, sometimes uncomfortable truth. We went into talking about shadow and going into the well, asking hard questions about who we are, what we're actually building in this life, what our purpose is, and whether we're doing that in alignment with our actual nature, our soul contract. And that questioning is really heavy work. And your nervous system, your human experience will feel that work, right? You don't come out of these past few weeks of truth seeking and then just be like, all right, I feel great. Let's go, right? You need medicine. You need to restore your body. And that's what this card is. It's like you've been going. You've been in this summer energy. You've been playing. This card is like, here's how you can experience the full spectrum of joy, of possibility as you are running and experiencing, right? If you're just on vacation every day and you don't have the things that actually nourish you and make you feel restful, that play and fun doesn't feel invigorating. So let's talk about what the Nectar means for us. So the Nectar is described as the activation of subtle intelligent forces. I want to highlight that word, subtle intelligent forces. Because so many of us who are high achieving, who have these big visions, who are building businesses, who are running careers, we have a very aggressive relationship with ourselves oftentimes. We fix, we push, we optimize our output, and we start to treat rest like it's something that, oh, this is a productive strategy. Like if I'm do this, I can be more productive. Instead of looking at it as like, it's a living need. It is a beautiful experience of being human. So the Nectar here is asking you to go subtle. In Hindu tradition, the Amrita is the drink of immortality, the infinite healing. It's another demonstration of the Nectar. And this infinite healing is not something that you manufacture into your life, right? It's not just this system that you put into place that makes you heal. It's something that you have to allow yourself to receive. You reach toward it. You allow yourself to receive. Think of nectar dripping off a flower. That's the image I want you to hold in your mind right now. This, like, I put my hand out. Maybe I open my mouth under and I allow. All right, think about bees. When we say save the bees, that's not something that's like, oh yeah, save the bees. It makes me feel good. Bees are what the whole ecosystem runs on. If we remove them, we know that it has dramatic impacts on our system and nothing grows. And yet in a system that has been built on extracting from healers, from helpers, from women, from minorities, from people who carry communities, we've been told that the bees don't need protecting. The worker bees, the people who build, right? That the ones doing the sustainable work, they don't need sustaining themselves. The nectar here is the correction to that system. The nectar is what will sustain your ecosystem. And it's time that we start allowing the nectar to matter. Going back to the subtle, the small, the quiet. I hesitate to use the word quiet because it feels so AI, but truly like sitting in the quiet, sinking back, like allowing yourself to be restored. And then there's this piece of desire. So we talk about the nectar that sustains us, this like delicious medicine that is from nature itself. It's not something, we said the word manufactured. And then on the flip side, there's this idea of desire, right? We're talking about nectar as a subtle intelligence. And a huge part for us to recognize is that intelligence has a lot to do with our desires, right? Our desires are not something contrary to what a lot of religion teaches and what capitalism teaches. They are not a distraction from our goals. Our desires are not indulgences that we just get to earn when our work is done. Our desires are holy. They are information. They are the body's way of pointing at what it needs to keep holding, to keep being alive, to keep being generative, and so that you can actually stay good at what you're doing, at what you're building. So take a moment and think, what makes your eyes shimmer? Literally, like, when you see someone and their eyes light up, maybe they're witnessing someone that they love, they're with their animal, and they light up. What do you walk towards? What makes your body go yes before your brain has time to argue? There's a big piece that we do in the closing the gap and pulling together the threads portion of the soul code extraction workshop. And the soul code extraction is where we shine a light on where you've been building your business, your systems, and your career solely based on survival, which is ultimately leading to your burnout. We uncover your soul contracts, your code of what lights you up, and then leads you to the path of least resistance. And when we can operate on the path of least resistance, we're able to do the hard work and still be sustained. But a lot of us are building our businesses, building our careers on something much more human-based that separates us from our spiritual purpose. Those core needs, and we call them core values, but the core needs are just there to keep us alive. So of course, we build things and we feel like shit. Kim Cran's the creator of the deck that I'm pulling from, the Wild Unknown Archetypes, she writes in the guidebook that the medicine is often more subtle than we expect. So we are calling in something, right? Maybe it's a certain level of income. Maybe it's a client. Maybe it's an opportunity. And we're looking for something to make that happen. Like, oh, what will allow me to experience that? What will heal me? What will give me that outcome? And the nectar is saying, well, it's way more subtle than you think it's going to be. You've been looking for these grand gestures. We've been trained to reach for the aggressive fix. Like, oh, I'm going to stack these supplements. I'm going to give myself this productivity system. I'm going to go for a hustle reset and do this like 30-day reset, right? And those things in itself, they're not bad, right? Those things do help, but they're not nectar. Nectar is what you crave at a deeper level. That tea that... Oh, I'm thinking about a tea that I've been drinking since my retreat in Mexico with healer and guide I've been working with for over a decade. It's skullcap and hibiscus, and it's this like really nourishing tea that my body's just like, you need that, right? It's not like, oh my God, it lights up my taste buds. It's nothing like that. It's really subtle. And I get to sit with it in this medicine that it allows me to experience and then rearranges my resonance to then allow me to connect with ideas, creativities, my guides, and a path of least resistance. All right? That's nectar to me. Maybe it's a blanket that like when you wrap yourself in, you're like, oh, yeah. Or a walk that you get to take and the sun just hits your face in just that right way. And you remember in that moment, oh my God, this is what it means to be alive, right? That it's changing your resonance. It is a subtle medicine. If you've been listening to this podcast and thinking, this is exactly how I want to run my business, that is your sign to go deeper. Rooted is my monthly membership for entrepreneurs and leaders who are done running their business and their career on empty. Inside, we work with energetic patterns of each season, pull the archetypes, read what's moving, and use all of it to make clearer decisions, reduce the stress that's been quietly draining you, and build towards your vision in a way that actually feels like you and feels deeply connected to source and spirit. Most of us have spent years mastering the strategy and performing really high. The plans, the goals, the hustle. Rooted is the other half. It is the part that makes the strategy work without costing you everything. It's $27 a month and you can try it free for 7 days. Go to risetoher.com/rooted or click the link in the show notes. Come get rooted with us. I'll see you inside. So, what are some of the places that feel delicious to you? Write that question down. Save it for later. What just feels so nourishing, so delicious? So yeah, that's what I really need right now. I need to have a conversation. I really just need to go lay down. I need to reach out, right? Because what I've seen and what I've been doing recently with my clients, both inside of Rooted and inside of my one-on-one mentorship work, is teaching people to be in relationship with that question of what feels delicious to you, instead of constantly overriding it and going back to logic. Because those desires, they are a map. Your body moving towards a yes, that becomes a compass for your life, right? And it's not just some spiritual woo-woo thing that just feels good to say, but it's also biology that we are given these desires for a reason. That is the subtle, intelligent force. But a lot of these desires, me asking you, what do you desire? Sometimes that's a really hard question to ask. We know I desire to have $1 million or to feel successful. But for a lot of us, when we go deep into how that desire will manifest, we have a hard time answering it. And that's because we've been trained to ignore the nectar, and it goes way, way deeper than hustle culture. I want to speak for a minute about the healers, the helpers, the people that hold this vision of a more well world. And historically, those people were women. They were the healers, right? They were the sages, the midwives, the medicine women. They were the herbalists, right? They knew what worked because they tested it. They had generations of knowledge about what the body needs, what the earth provides, how to read the subtle signs. And then the Catholic Church and colonialism moved through, and that knowledge started to become demonized. Women were blamed when things went wrong. If a child died in childbirth, crops failed, maybe someone got sick and there was no explanation, and the woman tending to it was blamed because men's work was outside of the home, outside of the community. So it was typically working with with certain products that weren't taintable, if that makes sense. And so they were removed from the intimate daily work of keeping life alive. While women's work was inside, it was really close to the body, it was close to earth, and was called dangerous. And in the historical records, one of the witch hunters actually wrote that the devil speaks through the senses. That is the origin of the voice that tells you your desires aren't to be trusted. That's where conditioning lives. The belief that what feels good, what the body reaches for, what lights you up is somehow suspect. When we are in touch with our senses, when we are in touch with God, and if you're not someone that's spiritual, I just mean the loving intelligence that gets the world to come back to equanimity, right? We don't need an intermediary to touch that. We don't need to earn access to that truth. We don't need to make ourselves holy or cleanse ourselves of sin, right? The nectar is already there. It's already available to us. But the senses are the doorway. And that's why dismantling the patriarchy within your own body is such a big part of growing a burnout-proof business and career. Because you can have all the right beliefs in your head and still override your needs 20 times before you get to lunch. Because that conditioning has been put into our system that our body exists on, because we are human. We came to be a human. So we can't ignore the human condition and try to ascend and spiritual bypass, right? The senses are the doorway. The nectar also is asking us to call in on our supports, your guides, your angelic realm, the unseen intelligence that is actually available to you at all times. It's just waiting for you to ask. I've been doing deep work with one of my one-on-one clients on exactly this situation, building an incredible company. And one of the core things that we come back to is, how can you do this in trust? How do you let support in when you have been trained, and this is a guide, to like figure shit out, right? And the answer is, you have to invite it. Guides cannot override your free will. You have to give permission. You have to open the door. And summer solstice is one of the most powerful times to do exactly that, because the veil is thinning right now. And it does that in a different way than it does in October. It's not the darkness thins the veil energy of Samhain. This is the light thins the veil energy. Maximum illumination, right? What has been hidden becomes visible. Everything is light. Right here in the Pacific Northwest, it's not getting dark until after 10 p.m. So it's like, all right, I guess I need to take a look at what's shining. Let me see all the hair floating through my house because the sun's hitting it, right? I have a golden retriever and pit bull. There's always hair. I'm running the vacuum all the time. Use this light to your advantage, right? If I didn't see that hair there, I wouldn't have known that I needed to run my vacuum there. And then I could be like, oh, I want to make sure that all the allergens are getting out of the house. Well, it was lit up. More energy, more time. Use it. It's there to support you. Because what you've been asking for can finally find you. If I've been asking for an allergen-free house or to make it as a deep clean as possible, well, I finally have the light to do so. And you stop feeling like, oh my God, I just need to search harder, right? That's what the nectar of this moment is offering to you. Saying just open, right? When a flower blooms, it has that nectar available. It's ready. You just have to say, all right, I'll take it. So let's bring this home. What does nectar look like for people in business and careers? That does not mean you just need to take a week off, call it good to go. It's not saying, all right, I just need you to go to a spa day. You've worked so hard. You deserve this. No, this is something that we need to bring into the daily, into the ordinary. It needs to become a way that we actually get to move through our daily work, right? So I want to ask, what rituals are you practicing? Something that you love, that you enjoy doing. For me, it's my daily meditations, it's my incense, it's my altars, certain moments that signal a transition. It can be candles, movement, smell of your coffee before you open your laptop. Maybe it's a walk that you're taking mid-afternoon because your brain is like, oh my God, I just need a break, right? Maybe it's a playlist that you put on because your whole body energy gets to shift, right? Those things, we're doing them not just so that we can be productive. They're not self-care as capitalism packages it. They are practices that keep you as a living, sensing, generative being. And when those practices are in place, you get to glow, right? You know people that just glow. You know the person who walks into the room and you're like, oh my God, they just brought so much alive, right? That's a person who knows what their nectar is, and they willingly drink it. And when those practices fall away, you start to get in fixation mode. You start to look for the aggressive approach. You start to search out a feeling that you have to I need to force everything. Nothing's flowing. I just need to fix something. That's a nectar problem. Your business has a nectar too. Your career has a nectar. What are the parts of the work that genuinely lights you up? Where does it feel like play even when you are working your ass off? Where does time do something strange and get really loose and oh my God, I could just sit in this, right? Those are data points. That's information, insight, codes into your nectar. It's the work that carries the quality. And it shows us where we need to be spending more time, where we need to allow it to infiltrate our business and our bodies. I want to offer you something to carry into this week. If you are in a safe place to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. If not, you can just imagine it in your head. I want you to imagine nectar. It's this gold, warm, sun-saturated liquid sitting on a petal of a beautiful flower. It's available there. And you'd imagine yourself walking towards it, and the nectar begins to drip slowly towards you. Gold is the color of the sun at peak, with orange the color of abundance and ripeness. The earth is wearing those colors right now. It's telling you that your medicine is available. Allow the nectar to begin to enter in through the top of your head, continuing to breathe it in, feeling the warmth infiltrate your body, feeling yourself restored, renewed, slowly dripping through your face, your neck, down each of the arms, dripping out of the fingertips, down through your center core, your hips, and down through each of your legs, feeling the warmth, the medicine, the sweetness. Medicine is available to you. You don't have to do anything except for make yourself available to it and welcome it in. Take a deep breath in, feeling the medicine. It's so sweet. You don't even have to resist it once you know how good it is. This week, I want you to pick a practice, a place, a person, one sensory experience that genuinely nourishes your soul. I want you to prioritize it. I'm not talking about just squeeze it into your calendar. I want you to prioritize it like a meeting that you cannot move. Because for the bees and the ecosystem, you can't move this. It's a requirement. The nectar card is also connected to aletheia, which is what we pulled last week, truth. And the connection between aletheia and the nectar is that truth is your elixir. What you discovered last week, what got real and naked and uncomfortable, that's the ground that your nectar grows from. You did the truth work. Now you get to take your medicine. Thank you for being here. If this landed, if you're like, this felt good, I would love for you to screenshot, share on your Instagram, tag us at Rise to Her. Share it with someone who you think would need to receive the nectar. Someone who's working really hard. We all need the nectar to sustain the ecosystem while we're letting the systems and the structures fall that have harmed it. You can reach out to us on Instagram at Rise to Her. Leave us a review if you haven't already. We are in a raffle right now once we hit 50 5-star reviews on Apple or Spotify. Or let's say we get to 50 subscribers on YouTube. Then we will give a year-long membership to Rooted Away, which is my seasonal living and energetic mastery membership for entrepreneurs to learn to see the unseen and work with seasonal energetics so that they can create a more sustainable business through energetic mastery. It's beautiful. It's fun. So give us a review, follow, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps get us out there. All right. I'll see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, reflecting, and rising into more of who you really are. If this episode sparked something inside of you or reminded you you're not alone, then you're exactly where you're meant to be. To keep the conversation going, come hang out with me on Instagram at Rise to Her. I always love hearing what's resonating for you. And if you're craving a space to explore intuitive, soul-led living with others who get it, our community is growing and you're always welcome. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your rhythm, and keep rising.